Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a second trimester update. So what day are we on? Saturday. So it's Saturday the 4th of so it's Saturday the 4th of January, and these are my last 3 days in the second trimester, so I will start the third trimester next week, which I'm very excited about. I feel like this has been a very long trimester, this one. I know that I did a 20-week update, so if you want to go and look at that, I will link that video in at the end. And with that, I was just kind of speaking about all the symptoms that I'd had up till then, and how everything had gone. For me, I started to get all of my symptoms in the second trimester, and I was quite ill throughout the second trimester. I'm still struggling with a few things now, which isn't very nice. So I'm just going to speak a bit about that now. So where I left off at 20 weeks is I went for my 20-week scan. So when you run around, you can't breathe. So I went for my 20-week scan. At the 20-week scan, they could only measure a few things because she wasn't in the right position, so I had to go back the next week. So I did that, and that was a really nice experience, especially the second time round. She was measuring right, everything was fine, she was in the normal percentile. I think her head was quite small, her abdomen was around just less than average, and she had really long legs. So I've got a scan on Monday, so we'll see how she's levelled out. So that'll be my 28-week scan. With food aversions, it wasn't till about 23 weeks that I was able to eat the things that I used to eat. So beforehand, I couldn't eat things like, I was put off most fish, any kind of red meat. I really struggled to eat steak or anything like that. Anything that had some kind of blood in it would just make me vomit. So I think I stopped vomiting around 21, 22 weeks. I went away with my gran. When was that? At the end of November, I think. And that's when I stopped all the vomiting and all of them kind of symptoms, which was good. Whereas, so I don't really have any more food aversions at the moment. With food though, I don't think I'm eating as much as I should do. So I've been struggling a lot with sleep, especially like the past 2 weeks. So my sleep, I think mainly because I switch between day and night. I can't fling back between the two much easier anymore. So I struggle with managing with the two. So when I finish my nights, you should really wake up a bit early to try and get yourself back into like the swing of things. But I'll try and wake up early and my body just can't do it. Or I'll try and, for example, yesterday I set my alarm. I was tired, I needed a 2 hour, like a little 2 hour nap, hour and a half. I ended up being asleep for about 8 hours. Hence why I'm filming this at 4 o'clock in the morning. I managed to get back to sleep then until about 3. So I've had enough sleep, but obviously it's just out of track, and now I'm on a day shift now, so that'll probably tired me out and I should be able to sleep okay later. Other thing to talk about this trimester is round ligament pain. So I think I've got a rather large bump, whereas because it's my first, I don't think it's as large as some other people's. So yeah, I've been spurting it, like say 21 weeks I'd have a little spurt, 23 weeks I'd have a little spurt, 25 weeks, 27 weeks, like I just have a random few centimetres growing in front, and with that it kind of brought all the round ligament pain and the stretching. Luckily, looking at my bump, it's all come at the front, so I've got like a few stretch marks at the front but nothing at the sides at the moment. So I think she's obviously, I'm not putting on weight necessarily, so I'm like just growing forward. But I think with the weight gain, so I only started to put on weight, what was that, probably 2-3 weeks ago. So I just had to adjust everything a minute. So yes, with the weight loss, I'm quite happy about the weight gain. I'm quite happy that I put on 5 pounds now, but I think a lot of that is related to food, because I haven't been able to eat as much because I've either been sleeping or overly sleeping or just not really feeling hungry. So that's something else that tied down. So that's something else that's happened the past few weeks. Kicking. Now, this is a very exciting part of being pregnant, isn't it? So I started to feel kicking that I could definitely say was kicking around 21 weeks, 21, 22. Now to the point where I know her daily movements, I know when she's likely to kick. She's extremely active, so she kicks quite a lot throughout the day. I don't count them or anything like that because I just know when you kind of get an inkling, don't you, when everything's okay. And she's super, super active, so I know that she'll kick me at least probably mostly every hour or so. Just depends, or she'll just be turning around, and that's just a really nice feeling. And it's very strange because initially when I thought I was feeling kicks, they were like a bit tender, but they don't hurt at all. Because I've got a posterior placenta, I should be able to feel everything because there's nothing cushioning the front. So there's that. Getting out of breath as well, so I've noticed that depending on how I sit, I've noticed that's become more of a thing since everything's kind of been pushed up, and now my bump's sitting a bit higher than my belly button, that's the word. Everything's been pushed up, and I think as soon as you do something, you just kind of struggle to breathe. So that's something I've definitely been noticing at the moment. Waddling. I've put waddling down because I feel like when I'm at work, you can kind of notice that how your bump is, you just walk a bit more funny. And I just call myself that I'm waddling, and I know it's going to get much worse than that. But I know I'm not walking as easier as I was before, and I think that's just one of the quite funny things about pregnancy. Now you can kind of actively tell that I am pregnant in work clothes, even though they kind of tent over my bump. You can still kind of tell that there's something there. So it just kind of makes me giggle to myself, really. So the biggest problem I've had throughout the past few weeks is my blood sugar. Now I work in an environment where I'm able to test my blood sugars, and I've actually bought my own blood sugar monitor now because I was suffering with low blood sugar quite often. Even on the days where I was eating quite a lot, my body just wasn't reacting to the blood sugar kind of as I think it should be. So for example, I'd eat something, and then a few hours later my blood sugar would be lower than what it should be, and I'd be starting to feel the effects of that. So I just can't constantly have to keep snacking, but then the snacks weren't bringing up my blood sugar at all. So I think at that point we got some advice from the midwife, and she just kind of said to have a lot of bread with jam in it. So that's kind of what I've been doing the past few weeks. And I am due to have my gestational diabetes test in a few days. I'm going to speak to my consultant about it because we've kind of done our own glucose intolerance test, and my blood sugars don't even reach the height that it should do with gestational diabetes. So I'm going to see what my consultant says, because I don't particularly necessarily want to drive an hour down the road after fasting for 12 hours to then be told essentially what I already know. Like, I know how to monitor them anyway if there was an issue, and I've got my own monitor, so we're just going to see how that plays out on Monday. So we spoke about stretch marks. So lower back pain. I haven't struggled with this as much as I've thought I struggled with it, but the one thing I have struggled with is my sciatic nerve. So it's more the past 2 weeks, whatever pressure is on that nerve down there, it's just painful. So even at work, I just have this burning sensation all down my backside. There's not much I can do to get rid of it. It's just depending on if I have a few kind of days off rest. So that's what I've been trying to do in between work. It's it gets very painful, especially if I kind of lean onto my left leg or I bend down or I go to get something, then it will just trap even more, and it's just not something I've been enjoying. But another issue I would say is bleeding gums. This is something that I've noticed more the past like 2-3 weeks, so when I brush my teeth, my lower gums here will start to bleed every single time. It's just right in the middle. I know that it's either your hair, your skin, or your teeth that it affects. It's not affected my skin or my hair. My hair's been super healthy. I've taken my extensions out, as you can tell. My skin's been really good, I don't really break out. It's just my teeth. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I usually have composite fillings, so I don't have gaps in between my teeth. And I usually pay to get them done, just because that's a self-confidence thing for me. And I've had them redone 3 times in pregnancy, and the pressure and the swelling in my mouth, it just pushes them out, which is really upsetting. So I'm going to have to wait until she's born, I think, to have them redone, because it's not something I want, and it's something that really I don't like about my image. So that's something that I'm definitely going to get done when she's born, and hopefully my teeth and everything will go back to normal. So yeah, I've mentioned the tiredness the past 2 weeks already, but kind of alongside that, I've noticed that I'm getting a slight bit more nauseous again, which upon reading other people's stories, that seems to be quite a normal thing, is that nausea tends to come back around 26-27 weeks. It's not to the point where I'm throwing up, but it's to the point where I'm kind of heaving at certain things. So I'm hoping that's going to die back down. And then lastly, urine infections. So the reason I'm under consultant is because I was born with 3 kidneys. I now only have 1. But throughout my pregnancy, I've had many urine infections and infections, but not like drastic ones. But a lot of the time when they dip my urine, there's a lot of leukocytes in it. There's some protein in it, there's some other stuff in it, but it always comes back as the cultures are fine. So I think an issue is that there's a lot pressed down there, and because everything's kind of being filtered through one kidney, it's just a lot harder for that one kidney to work. So I have been on enough antibiotics for it. My consultant's plan was to put me on antibiotics throughout the whole of the pregnancy if I continue to get urine infections, but it turns out they're not really urine infections. It's more they put me on antibiotics for just in case it turns into the urine infections, but there's definitely something going on in my urine that we can't quite figure out yet, that I'm hoping will be a bit easier to figure out in a few weeks' time. Just maybe as things start to grow in, we should have a clearer idea of what's going on, if that made sense. So yeah, that's kind of what's been happening this trimester. Most of that is moaning. Most of this trimester I have moaned a lot. I can't say I've really enjoyed pregnancy as much. I feel like a lot of the issues that I should have had in the first trimester, I've had in the second trimester. And I was very fortunate in the first trimester that I didn't really have many problems. Whereas now I'm going to the toilet all the time. And just a number of other things. Everything that's kind of happened this trimester. I'm hoping it all just kind of comes in stages, and then starting next week I might start this like magical trimester. I know everyone usually doesn't like the 3rd trimester because you feel really uncomfortable, but I think everything's gone really backwards for me so far. So maybe this might be where I start to enjoy certain things. I've kind of set a plan for myself as well for the next 12 weeks. I've been eating healthy, but I want to kind of now start to incorporate more fruit and vegetables into my diet. That's something I wasn't able to eat as much of. I want to definitely start eating more of them, just getting my body prepared more for breastfeeding, getting everything feeling a bit more healthier, getting a healthier gut. I am going to start doing all my pelvic floor exercises, start with some kind of stretches and yoga. That's something I haven't really done so far. mainly because I've been quite busy at work. When I'm not at work, I'm sleeping, or moaning at work. But it is an exciting thing. I think for me, it's quite daunting that I know in less than 3 months' time, hopefully, if she comes on or before a due date, that I'm going to have a little girl. But the whole labour thing is extremely petrifying to me. So I want to kind of go to some groups and things for that. Because initially I really wanted a water birth. And I probably still will try and push for that. But I know it's quite hard depending on what hospital you're going to with risk factors, etc. if that can happen. And then I've gone through the stage of wanting a cesarean. And then I've gone through the stage of wanting a normal birth with epidural. Like, I think it's the fear of the unknown, and listening to everyone else's labour stories, it's really put me off. And I think when you work in an environment where everyone you see is ill, even the children are ill, and you just hear terrible stories about labour, I think that worries you even more, because you're prone to knowing about kind of the ill side of things and the bad stories, not the good stories. But we'll see. It's definitely a lot of research that I need to do in the next few weeks. I've still got, God, how long have I got? I've still got 8 weeks left at work. So I finished the end of February, which feels like a very long time away. But yes, I'm excited to go into this next trimester. So hopefully I'll just keep everyone updated, and just pray that everything turns out okay. So thanks for listening to me rant on mainly for about 15 odd minutes and moan. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe and keep updated with everything that's going on.